Welcome back to the Overwatch Open, ladies and gentlemen. This will be our last best of 3 of the evening. We are getting stuck in Group B of the North American server, and of course this will be SODIPOP versus ALGAE. These teams are fairly well established, I would say, in the kind of 5th to 8th positions in North America, and as a result, don't often play against each other that often. We had a similar story in EU earlier, ZP, where we were saying, well, hang on a second. We have two teams facing off against each other who we're used to seeing lose to the top teams, for lack of a better way to say it. But it's actually really difficult to predict how they're going to do against each other.
Definitely. And the interesting thing here is that this is also a story within this group where this could be similar to the Splice Selfless story, where the winner of this gets to move forward, go up against C9, maybe lose the match against C9, and then have a rematch against who they beat here. So the stakes here are interesting because I don't think either of these two teams is really strong enough to go forward and take out C9. There's always the puncher's chance, but it's not great. So in a sense, there could be a scenario where winning today and lose, well, if you lose tomorrow, it's just over, period. But certainly it's a case where, you know, both teams, maybe they don't want to show the other team their best looks just because it is so likely that they're going to be playing against each other tomorrow, based on what we know of all the teams in this group. Well,
we've seen this time and time again in GSL, frankly, which is how the group format, of course, is modeled after the GSL, basically turned that quite famous in mainstream esports. You often have teams, or players in that case, facing off against each other in the initial match, coming back to face each other in the final match, and of course they've sussed themselves out and they know a little bit more about how the other team plays, and often you see the opposing team win. We saw that in Selfless versus Splice. Are we potentially going to be seeing that again here today? I think that's a very good point. If this ends up being a complete steamroller one way, maybe not, but there is nothing that we've seen so far that indicates this will end up being super one-sided.
No, not at all. And the team that wins this, again, they can't breathe easy because they're still very likely to play against each other tomorrow. So we'll see how things go. But taking a look here at the defense coming out here from the side of SODIPOP, it's going to be hyped here on the Junkrat, Nomi on Reinhardt, Agility is going to be on Roadhog, Grim Reality, of course, on his McCree, Jer on the Symmetra, and hype on Zenyatta, which means that SODIPOP is going to be making that Symmetra gamble. And why is it a gamble? They're giving up some degree of power early on for the idea that they can get a teleporter up later on.
We'll see if he's able to do that. Of course, you also need to be able to make sure the payload isn't close to the destination. You don't want that teleporter to be reset a couple of seconds after you put it down. Refund or not, you ideally want to be able to use it to its maximum. So only 10% at the moment. ALGAE being reasonably careful to prevent SODIPOP from getting too much damage done there. And Blam notably on Ana as well, by the way. Dogman will be their main flanker on Tracer.
All right, well, CLG starting to move forward, looking for their opportunity right now. They are running the Ana on offense, which means that Blam, his main focus right now is getting up his ult charge. He's just healing tanks up in front. He's throwing in all his heals in the mini. He's getting a whole ton of ult, and Mini is letting himself take some degree of damage here just to charge up Blam. We'll see who they put the nano boost on. A lot of teams will put on the Reinhardt. They could put on Winston, or they could put on Genji. So 3 good targets here for nano boost, and they're going to have that up in just a moment. The nano boost is out. It's going to be running right into this Junkrat Tyre. Tyre is on the way. Still, though, 2 kills from the offense. Tyre doing some laps, not finding what it's looking for. It's back and forth, but here's the thing. Even if CLG loses this fight, they're going to be able to reinforce quicker than SODIPOP, and it's still not the worst, but it does look like they will lose this fight due to some late Grox from Agility.
You're exactly right. I mean, the proximity to where they spawn is going to benefit ALGAE. You need to ensure that you do better than just trade on the defense there, because, to be honest, the guys that are attacking are going to be able to get back into the payload much, much faster. And Jer, by the way, has actually got the ultimate ready. He's going to be heading up to place his teleporter down now. That's important because that evens the score. That disadvantage that SODIPOP would otherwise have had rushing back to defend, it's not there anymore. Grim Reality opening things up with a Deadeye, and Agility's managed to follow up. Grim Reality did actually get a good amount of damage done on B dropped as well, and it looks like ALGAE will once again get pushed back, and now SODIPOP have the teleporter.
Yeah, the problem there with CLG is that CLG was not able to reinforce anywhere near in time there for what happened. It did give time for Symmetra to get the teleporter, and by the way, the Ana Gambit, it's dead. Blam now on Lucio over the Ana, so they're not going for that anymore. So they're a little bit behind in terms of building sound barrier. In fact, window-wise, look at windows. Oh no, the hook is coming out. Dogman almost going down from that right away. And opportunity-wise, this is really their best window to actually open this up.
We'll see if they're able to take it. Dogman, of course, switching off of Tracer onto McCree as well. So it looks like a little bit of a change in tactics from ALGAE here as SODIPOP continue to try and defend from down below. And we have now got Hype moving in, trying to get a couple of kills off during Transcendence. And Hui and Mini both go down there, so very, very big kills off on the tanks, once again forcing ALGAE back. And now ZP, they're on a little bit of a time bomb because it's only just over a minute they've got left.
Well, it's a minute that they have left, but like I was mentioning before, that was actually their window because they threw a lot of ults in that last fight to no effect. They still have to deal with the teleporter. It's possible for CLG to get through this, but man, is it unlikely. Everything needs to go well. And more than else, they actually need to take care of Grim Reality first. He's been ripping them apart in these last few fights. CLG is going to move up, but unless they get an early pick-off here, it is going to be grim indeed.
Teleporter now, of course, able to prevent. Oh dear, actually managing to roll. He could have potentially picked off the McCree there, but it doesn't matter. SODIPOP will be able to get most of those kills. It's a full wipe from ALGAE and Jur. Yes, Jur's died, but we have actually got the teleporter, of course, to bring us straight back into the fight. 30 seconds left, and SODIPOP looking extremely strong.
The interesting thing about this is that CLG does have the opportunity to go for one last push. They died so decisively there that they're going to be a run-in. They're not going to have positioning in any way, shape, or form. But Blam needs a little bit for Soundbear. Soundbear and Death Blossom could cut through and be decisive enough that the teleporter won't matter. We'll just have to see here in just a moment, but this is the last gas for CLG. Everything on the line here in this fight, and they're moving forward.
A lot of it comes down, of course, to whether we can actually get that damage done. We have Dogman with the Deadeye. Hui as well. He's going to be using Death Blossom if he can. He's looking for an opportunity to go in now. Nobody dead just yet. Transcendence, of course, being a big part of that. Dogman now getting focused down, but he isn't quite down. There he goes. 2 kills from either side, and Hype's actually grabbing the double on Winston, by the way. In the meantime, Agilities, basically the tanks are doing tremendous work for SODIPOP, but like you said, there are the ultimates from ALGAE, and both sides actually losing 4 players each.
In the end, SODIPOP is going to hold out, though, and this is a terrible, terrible blow against CLG. SODIPOP clearly showing that, at least for Dorado, they have their affairs in order, and now the trouble for CLG is going to be having an even better defense, which, again, super rare in Overwatch. I think I've seen maybe 2, 3 times in all the competitive times I've seen that you've had the double hold here on Dorado. In fact, now that you don't have to hold directly at point A and it's just distance-based, it basically does not happen nowadays. So not impossible for CLG to win, but man, is it going to be incredibly difficult.
So revisiting our predictions before the start of the match, Jeep, do we actually have a situation now where actually there's a bit of a gulf between these two teams? Or might it be a case where actually both of them are a lot stronger on defense than offense?
I mean, it's hard to say. CLG had a lot depending on that early Ana Gambit. I think if Blam was on Lucio to start out with and they were able to move in with an earlier Soundbearer, I think it might be a different story to that entire fight. Unfortunately, they did go for the Ana Gambit. It didn't work out for them, and it was problematic. So it's sort of one of those things where they're high risk, high reward there. Didn't work out, had to deal with the Symmetra. This could just be a strat loss to some extent to CLG. I mean, it's part execution, part strat, but I think if they went more traditional, they would have had a much better look on offense.
Well, we can see there on the defense, we have also got the Symmetra once again. Blam will continue to be playing Ana. So what do you think about this from the other side? I mean, we saw a little bit of a gambit before, but it looks like Blam is content to play this on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, Blam playing the Ana on the other side, I'm not super in love with it as far as the defense goes. I do think they're going to be lacking not having a Lucio here. Just because, again, think about how things are going to go forward here. They lose one major fight, they're going to lose the game. What is going to be their answer when Jared comes with the sound barrier and they don't have anything great to deal with it? They have Transcendence, but Hype is going to have a Transcendence too. The support ultimates alone, I just don't think they're going to be able to deal with the push-in from SODIPOP when they get to that point.
Is it safe to say then that maybe they're relying an awful lot on being able to get a teleporter up? Because Lucio, without that heal, if you can get the teleport up and everyone rushes back to the fight really quickly, that's kind of cool. But that's a big gamble.
It's a big gamble. In general, I'm just not really in love with the CLG setup right now. I think SODIPOP has a lot of outs to win this game. Not the least of which, by the way, Grim Reality on the offensive Roadhog. He gets one pick. That might already be GG. It's not that big of a deal to win one fight here. One fight is all they need.
Yes, and the payload doesn't have to go very far at all, so that first pick is going to become all important, and that prizing open of the defense here, it's going to be a lot more than that, because that could very well be game, set, match as far as Dorado is concerned. And now we have SODIPOP moving on in. Agility's going in from the side, looking for those picks. Only able to get a sentry turret so far, but a double kill for ALGAE to start things off. And SODIPOP having a little bit of trouble. ALGAE now have 3 ultimates up, to be fair. They are actually getting that up a lot faster than the offense.
They are, and that part's good, the fact that they do have the teleporter up, but again, you take a look at SODIPOP, they're not really in danger here. They're going to have Sound Barrier up soon, they're going to have Dragon Blade, and just Sound Barrier Dragon Blade alone is going to be so hard for CLG to deal with. I mean, they will have a Transcendence out, maybe Transcendence deals it, but hang on, let's take a look here. Tyre's on the way, you must Hui, throwing that Tire in, trying to stop this push before it begins, moving around, dashing, darting, looking for an opportunity, will force the defense or offense back at least a little bit, blows up, not blowing up anything, but certainly creating some space.
Hui now needs to focus. Oh, never mind. He needs to focus his attention in the middle, but he can't because we actually have SODIPOP moving on in through the middle here. Transcendence immediately getting popped from ALGAE to try and preserve as much of that as possible, but B-Drop is going to go down really quick. That's 5. That's all 6. And SODIPOP, like a tidal wave, smashes through ALGAE, and that is all she wrote for Dorado.
I mean, in the end, they just had they didn't have the support ult answers to what SODIPOP had, and that's where, okay, CLG has ults. You mentioned that. It's just sort of like, whatever, they don't have a sound barrier, they're not going to be able to deal with this when they come in with sound barrier Dragon Blade, and that's pretty much what transpired there in the end. So bit of a rough go there for CLG, but to be honest, with some of the comps they chose there, they were almost their own worst enemy.
Hype's actually showing us an awful lot of DPS. Agility's got a couple of those last hits on Genji, but that was absolutely brutal Zarya play there, and basically melts away the entire team.
Yeah, Agilities came out with the big triple kill towards the end, but of course it was set up by all the other ults that SODIPOP was saving, and honestly, SODIPOP had a much smarter approach to that map when compared to what CLG was doing, and I think for CLG, if I had any advice to go forward here is, don't reinvent the wheel for your next map. We've seen you have very good traditional play in the past. Just come back in, play more traditional, play to your strengths, and we'll see what map they decide to bring us to next, whether it be Nambani or Lijiang, but either way, I think they shouldn't try and get cute and outthink themselves regardless.
I think that basically sums it up. You need to make sure that you don't get in... I mean, teams can get cute and try new strategies, but often you see that with teams that are very confident in their abilities against an opponent that they feel like they outclass, and they can actually maneuver a little bit and still make it work. This feels like a matchup that's a lot closer than that, and therefore, it's no longer just let's tweak our strategy and do something cute. It becomes, like you said, very high risk, very high reward.
Well, the other thing, too, is that you look at how first points transpire. A lot of times teams aren't going to get in first, but you sort of hit an ult critical mass where Lucio is a key centerpiece to it for a lot of teams. Like it or not, Lucio is a very big part of the meta right now. Mm-hmm. And you hit a point where, okay, your Lucio has sound barrier up, you can go from there around like 2 minutes. But because you look at the opening there, they did the Ana opening, they didn't get what they're looking for, it really delayed that window, and it made it much more likely for the full hold to occur there, which unfortunately for CLG did in fact happen. So for them, they're going to go Lijiang here for the next map, and we'll see just what they have in store. Maybe the more brawly, deathmatchy nature of King of the Hill will be more in their way. Certainly, it was a sort of a quiet map for US Tui, but he has had pretty big games in the past. We'll see if he can come alive here.
And with that full hold, and to be honest, reasonably quick take as well, it's no surprise that we saw a switch up in the map formats for map number 2. Don't forget, in a best-of-3 series, if we are to see the losing team come back, they will still have to win on 2 payload maps, but Lijiang Tower is a good place to try and stem the flow and regain a little bit of the momentum previously lost on Dorado.
Well, we will be starting out here on the control center and taking a look at both teams. A little bit of an interesting contrast here. CLG will be running the Roadhog and the Ana, so CLG still staying true to the Ana. SODIPOP running a more traditional setup here for control center. We'll see how it works out. Roadhog, of course, does have the ability to immediately get a pick and put things in his favor, especially if you're not expecting it, but he's also a big beacon of ult charge if the other team isn't looking for it. But there's no Zenyatta for SODIPOP here, so Roadhog might not be that bad of a choice.
Crashing in from above, they actually move down onto the ground floor to see ALGAE on the top of the stairs there, and SODIPOP taking their time. Actually, a lot of the health points on ALGAE were very, very low there, even though we didn't see any initial kills, and Mini looks like he's going to be getting the first one off of on SODIPOP as well, so maybe not able to seize that opportunity. Dogman able to heal himself up, of course, and B-Drop has to be a big part of that, because ALGAE, almost all of them were down below half health at some point, and B-Drop now, he's got his ultimate available, he's been healing them constantly.
This is a little bit weird for a map like Lijiang here, where they have Reinhardt versus Reinhardt. This is not what you normally see from a lot of teams, but Nano boosted Reinhardt on the menu. Mini rolling right in, swing the hammer, W-Mouse 1, moving forward, drops the hammer. Lucio not getting away this time, moving forward a little bit more. Unconventional, but I'm not sure it's quite working out either. Both teams trading out kills here.
Ooh. Going for D.Va, unfortunately, she flies off like a startled mosquito. And Reinhardt is going to be charging into his death. SODIPOP now getting 2 kills there and flipping the point from ALGAE.
This is quite a bizarre game. I mean, anytime you have Reinhardt v. Reinhardt here in this situation, it's a little, I mean, it's not entirely unprecedented. There have been times where we've seen it. In fact, I think one of the times I remember was one of the Asian teams in ramp. But here we go. Next fight's on the way. Dogman moves in, takes out Hype right away. The hook being true. So it's a 65 here for CLG as they move it forward. And one thing I'd really like to see from SODIPOP is the switches on sooner rather than later, just to punish Roadhog that much more heavily.
This is all about that stamina and longevity in the team fights. We have triple tank on both sides of the equation right now, by the way. So both teams opting for those kind of compositions and still sticking with Ana for ALGAE. This is why the kill feed's been a little bit slower. It's been a little bit more tactical with where heroes are actually getting placed. Grim Reality launching that initial Deadeye. There are no ultimates available now for SODIPOP, but they do manage to get a triple kill. Nomi there charging his way into a double himself.
Yep, SODIPOP is going to flip this right back over. Very close fight overall. Reinhardt at least buying some space, but again, a little bit strange to see him here. I would really like to see SODIPOP come out with a Zen at some point, just to punish Dogman a little bit more. I sort of mentioned that a little bit earlier, but still very much a thing. But you look at the next fight, Agilities right now can drop down, drop the Death Blossom at any moment, is going to be looking for his opportunity, does get set backline, Death Blossom up, takes out both supports. There's no greater value than that.
And he's going to be able to get the triple as well, picking up Dogman on the way out. That was an absolutely excellent wipe as SODIPOP now meet and surpass the percentage actually made from ALGAE here. So still sticking, by the way, with 3 tanks on both sides. And now we have Spo moving on to Zenyatta.
Well, SODIPOP right now, they need about 2 more fights to win this first round. And of course, right now, 3 rounds in Lijiang, and that will be it for the series. So SODIPOP definitely in a good position. They do have Earthshatter at the ready. Both teams back to Earthshatter at the ready. So this is going to be pretty explosive when it comes to tank ults on both sides. We'll see how it goes. But Dogman once more getting the first pick and putting CLG in a great position.
Right now, well, we need to see that big breakthrough that actually gets all of those kills from ALGAE right now. SODIPOP have shown that they are more than capable of doing it. There's a massive Earth Shatter, but can we actually convert Jur there with the sound barrier to try and keep SODIPOP alive? Only Hype actually went down. Everyone else managed to get healed up right now, and SODIPOP are fighting back with a couple of kills of their own. Now we have Blam, though, able to keep the rest of his team alive, so the pendulum is swinging the other way once again. Mini getting a pick off. There goes sound barrier effectiveness now, and both sides just, I hate to say brawling, but they are engaging, moving back, and getting healed up. These are very long, very sustained engagements here.
Well, it's CLG with the clear advantage here in that fight. They will have a nano boost up in the next fight as well. So for SODIPOP here, now the tables haven't flipped. SODIPOP must win the next fight or they will lose the round. If everything comes down to this fight right now as both teams rush right in. Here comes SODIPOP. They're moving. Graviton is in, pulls in 3 people, including the person who got the nano boost. So we'll see if they can convert. Hype does get the first kill. Down goes the Ana. Grim Reality falling through. 2 kills here for SODIPOP, but it's CLG. Bring it right back. Is 3v3. Both teams on the point. Whoever wins this will win the map, and it is coming down to the wire.
And Hui there getting the recipient of the nano boost, only able to get the 1 kill, and she actually goes down as well does Zarya. Agility's trying to make it happen for SODIPOP right now. ALGAE with several people on the point. We're going into overtime. 99 plays 95%. Sound barrier coming out from Blam as well. ALGAE want to take this right here, right now, but SODIPOP are trickling in, and they're not dying quite that quickly as well, so we're back to having a basic full team fight.
Well, one key thing here is that overtime can just like outright end. There is a overall limit to it, or at least there has been in the past, so they do need to cap this at some point. If CLG just keeps delaying, they might win on that alone. SODIPOP cannot leave the point at any moment here. Diminishing returns have kicked in. They must stay on the point no matter what. Hype is getting the cleanup he needs, though. Hyped on the triple kill. Will it be enough? Pulse bomb out.
Wow.
And SODIPOP going to take the round.
That was possibly one of the closest points in terms of time flipped to winning the point I think I've seen in recent history. Very, very close there. SODIPOP leaving it until the last second, and we have to mention Hyped on Tracer, managing to get those last second kills, and there was no contest. There was no additional overtime. It was an instant flip and an instant win there.
It was also just weird, one of the more unconventional rounds of Lijiang in terms of TCOM. So we'll see if it carries forward into the next round, but Hey man, people are trying new comps and new setups all the time, but take a look here. This does look a little bit more traditional coming out from the side of CLG. Going to be running the Winston Zarya with the Genji Zenyatta. So pretty overall standard here. SODIPOP, though, they might be sticking with the Reinhardt.
Well, they're certainly going to try to start things off. Nomi, of course, playing Reinhardt as his main and playing it for a very long time now. We'll see how effective that can be. But Hyde getting an excellent first pickoff onto Blam. And there goes a support, if you don't mind us saying he's going to be completely erased. Be dropped also going down as well. But both teams trading a couple of kills. Not having that Lucio for the rest of this battle, though, is going to be frustrating.
It's not just that not having Lucio for the rest of the battle, it's also the fact that Lucio's ult charging is going to be delayed that much from dying that early. Take a look at Jer versus Blam right now. Jer is at 75%,
yeah.
Blam is at 15%. With how vital Sound Barrier is to winning fights, Jer is going to be able to Sound Barrier in the next fight or the fight after. Blam, it's going to be much longer, and that alone can be a huge boon for SODIPOP in actually winning this round.
It's interesting as well because while Blam also doesn't have Sound Barrier quite as well charged, Spo is also going to have Transcendence. So we're going to have the potential double support ultimate coming out of here a little bit later on from ALGAE. At the moment, though, both of their tanks are down, and that puts them in a very vulnerable position.
Not only are their tanks down, and SODIPOP did get that first strike, but again, you take a look at the ult situation, they didn't have to burn resources for it either. This is an incredibly excellent start for them as a result. So we'll see if they can get up, but Grim Reality piling on, taking out Yumasui with that final pickoff, and things are looking grim for CLG here. Everything that could go wrong for them right now is going wrong.
They're trying to be ultra aggressive now, by the way, because B-Drop actually switching on to Reaper. They're going for a lot of DPS with this composition. Mini playing the only tank character on Zarya right now as a SODIPOP. Well, they've still got 4, now 5 ultimates available, 3 getting used at once. Grim Reality, Hype, and Hype all absolutely going to town and wiping the floor with ALGAE. Did they have to use all 3 ults at the exact same second? Well, maybe, maybe not, but the point is they got the result.
Yeah, I mean, arguably they didn't need to use all that. Agility's, though, is going to have a great opportunity to open things up here in the next fight. And at least Jer's going to have a time to build his own Sound Barrier up once more. But you take a look between Blam and Jer, the way it's working right now, with how quick Jer is building up versus how slow Blam is building, they might get up at the same time anyways. So this is pretty good for SODIPOP all in all. Agility's, though, definitely the one watching the next fight. He's going to be looking for that flanking Death Blossom. And there it is. Takes out Blam immediately, stopping him from building ult. 3 quick kills here for SODIPOP. And they are well on their way to taking the second round and putting CLG truly against the wall.
Oh, this is going to be such a difficult position for them to be in. And Blam actually dying in the middle of that as well, so preventing him from getting that ultimate charge. Jer could actually have it sooner rather than later, but we are up to 99%, and that is going to be that. Not able to get anybody onto the point, and SODIPOP now move on to match point.
Gonna be honest, that was a brutal round for Blam. When he was just struggling to build up Sound Barrier the entire game, and it was due to no small feat from the side of SODIPOP. They know who the threat is in King of the Hill, how Lucio is really the heart of a team, and they dove on him in all sorts of ways, whether it be hooks, Reapers in the back, whatever it might be. And that was rough for CLG. I think if nothing else, Blam might want to take a step back, not expose himself as much, look for a little bit more help, because if your Lucio is dead all the time in King of the Hill, you're probably not going to be winning.
Well, the initial hook on Lucio, I feel like, set the scene, and then they just kept the momentum going from there. That really just basically set a marker down for what was to come there, and we need to see a little bit more coming out from Blam. Completely agree. Grim Reality from the outset now is going to be playing Tracer. You can see SODIPOP are just a little bit more mobile with Winston coming in. Very quick team engagement now, and we're going to be seeing actually the fight spreading out, so it's not really Death Ball territory. Reinhardt can only defend from one direction at a time though, and 4 kills going the way of SODIPOP. Dogman is going to go ahead and make his exit unceremoniously as well, and that is an incredibly strong start here for the red team.
And the reason why it is an incredibly strong start, it's not just that they won the fight, it's that they won it very decisively and built up an ult advantage as well. Lucio-wise, it's a little bit more even. Blam only 10% behind here, but SODIPOP, by winning that first fight, have set themselves up to probably win the second fight also. And this is where King of the Hill does have that snowball factor. Agility's piling on, takes out Blam immediately earlier in this fight, and that Roadhog is going for the long ride as SODIPOP wins another fight.
A Hype there, getting the better of Dogman, pushing him straight off of the bridge. Grim Reality with a double kill on Pulse Bomb as well. And like you said, ZP, that second fight has been great as well. And at the end of it, SODIPOP still have 2 ultimates to ALGAE's 1. So it's very tricky because ALGAE now have to find ways of getting really productive fights in.
Well, again, you look at SODIPOP's strategy of really going in on Blam early. look at the difference between Jer and Blam on ult percentage. Jer's going to have the sound barrier up much earlier. That's going to be another one fight for SODIPOP in all likelihood. Plus the Dragon Blade. Things are going very grim right now. Oh no, more knockoffs coming in. D.Va in the house. 2 quick kills here from SODIPOP. And they're going to win this fight, and they didn't have to use a sound barrier on it. And Blam dead again earlier on, and this is all sorts of rough because really, look at fights here. CLG only has about 2 more fights left in them, and if they don't win one of those 2 fights, that is it. The series is over.
Hype's actually doing an incredible job on a D.Va there. Not quite managing to move people off the second time around. Going straight in, though, with the Graviton Surge. ALGAE trying to make something happen, getting the first 2 kills. And Roadhog trying to fight back, whipping the hook just a little bit. Mini now on top of the point. Hype, the only person who's below half health, though. SODIPOP, they are regrouping, but they are not dead. And they're managing to preserve their lives, and they're going to be able to jump straight back in.
Well, the interesting thing there is that they had sound barrier up and they lost people immediately. That was not a good look, but here we go. Next fight is underway. It is back and forth. Nomi picking the double kill, Mini on the double kill. Both tanks going in deep. Nomi get the backside though. Zenyatta not going to be long for this world. He is going to fall with the aid of Agilities. And SODIPOP bringing this right back. Agilities, gets axed right in the back of the head. And this is close.
This is turning into a series of mini engagements here, and we can see SODIPOP being a little bit more spread out, trying to use the ability to spread themselves out. Nomi leaping around, Grim Reality trying to come in from the flank, getting B dropped as well, which is excellent, being able to pick up those supports early on. And the sound barrier from Blam there maybe helping out a little bit, but Jer now, once again, having that lead. It's 45 to 74%, so CLG do currently have control of the point, but SODIPOP just need to survive for 1 or 2 more fights after taking the point.
Coming in, takes out Spo immediately, sword to the back of the head, looking for a little bit more, forcing everyone in CLG back. This will give SODIPOP at least the space they need to cap the point. They get the point right back in, and CLG, they are 1 team fight away from going into lower bracket. This is absolutely not what they wanted here to start things out. They must win the next fight. A lot of pressure here on You must win.
SODIPOP now on the brink of being able to win this and having that shot against C9. Here we go. The teams are coming in. This is going to be so important. Grim Reality, they're looking to try and shut things out right now. There's a Graviton Surge coming on in, but we don't quite see all the kills just yet. 1 versus 2 right now. It's 5 on 4, and nobody's actually sitting on the point. We're getting into overtime. And we now need to see the contest coming out from CLG. There is the sound barrier. Blam moving on in. Can they flip this?
It's looking good. They did get the first 2 picks. Graviton definitely helping them out with that. They are on the point. Grim Reality is trying to fight it back. Does have Pulse Bomb Math already. Throws it out. Not going to get the stick, but Hype winning the Roadhog battle. And here comes SODIPOP. Respawns are going to be in here in a moment, so it will be a 6v5. They are winning the poke battle. And Hype putting the team on his back. Has a double kill. Throws out the whole hog. Going to be knocked to the ground, but not before doing all sorts of damage, and it's given an opportunity now for Grim Reality to move to the flank, and he is starting to rip things up.
I mean, I was thinking about saying how I didn't actually like that pulse bomb from Grim Reality, but in the time it took for me to do that, he's got another one.
And that is going to be it. SODIPOP with the relatively decisive 2-0 over CLG. I gotta say, given how these teams have been more close in the past and have been trading off, it's interesting. It does show that SODIPOP has had a more disciplined practice regimen, that SODIPOP has been putting in more time. And CLG, I feel like, of the 2 teams, has definitely seemed more stagnant, especially now that this match is in the books.
SODIPOP also felt like they could control their fights in multiple areas of the map at once. I feel like when CLG were attacking, they were attacking as a unit. They were doing all right, but it felt a little bit like SODIPOP were a bit more versatile. They were comfortable sending a couple of players to flank. On the King of the Hill, for instance, they knew exactly what to do, making sure they don't get picked off while Winston was out to initiate, for instance. And it just felt like they were a bit more comfortable spreading themselves up and trying to envelop their opponents.
Well, you mentioned knowing what to do. Someone who does know what to do, our gracious host that has rejoined us here, the one and only James Bardolph. How are you doing?
Very kind of you, ZP. Thank you very much. So, Joshy, that was really, really hard for CLG to look at them for a moment. Going back to Dorado, they didn't cap a single point on the payload.
That's rough, man. And we actually didn't know at the beginning of this match what this was going to play out like. We had very even odds in all of our minds basically coming into it, but the first match, it was just a steamroll. Honestly, that full defense is pretty rare, especially among what we consider to be evenly matched teams, and the fact that they were unable to get past it is pretty, not surprising. And each side actually used Symmetra there, which is actually the first time we've seen Symmetra in like days of tournament happening. And it's actually the first time we've seen a teleporter actually stay up for more than a minute as well. They had it for the whole half of that entire map. So very impressive stuff there, actually, from SODIPOP. I think Hyped and Agilities definitely stood out there in Game 1. Agilities obviously drove it home for SODIPOP on the attack once they got that big Dragon Blade ultimate, but Hyped just threw out as Zarya and Roadhog just getting excellent kills and protection for his teammates throughout.
Symmetra, Ana, and Roadhog we saw early on Dorado. Is that weird, Jorasar?
It's certainly not a combination you see every day at all, but both sides actually, especially Blam playing Symmetra on both attack and defense, was certainly a bit unconventional. I think ZP put it best when you say if you're going on attack and you actually want this to work, it ends up being a situation where it's high risk, high reward, and in a situation where so much is at stake, maybe that ended up being not the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, the Ana, not Symmetra, but the Ana moving forward there and doing that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it was interesting. I mean, it had the high risk and high reward for the first push, but the problem was that because it didn't work out, the issue is that it set them back on Lucio play. Their sound barrier came in late, and by the time their sound barrier came in, they were just up against too much defensively in terms of resources, and they weren't able to crack that Dorado defense where normally an offense will be able to get through just through ultimate attrition alone. So the Ana play not without its serious downsides.
Going into Lijiang, we saw double Reinhardt, but also I think the supports were targeted well by SODIPOP. Any comments on that, Joshi?
Yeah, the fact that there were 3 supports made it really easy to focus the supports. I'm actually surprised CLG went with triple support throughout that King of the Hill, and it just allowed Agilities to go crazy with Genji. Whenever an ult wasn't available, he was almost guaranteed a kill against Zenyatta, Lucio, or Ana. Tracer also getting in the mix there. Grim Reality made life really hard for Ana. I'm surprised that they did not actually finally switch to any offensive characters. It was triple support, triple tank almost the entire way through Lijiang, and after it didn't work on A was very close, granted, but after it didn't get the result they wanted, I'm surprised they didn't just add a McCree or a Reaper.
ZP, double Reinhardt, talk to me.
Yeah, it's unconventional. It's not something that we haven't seen before on Control Center. In fact, I think back, like I said, there was a team in the Asian region that actually, I think it was MVP Space that ran Reinhardt on Control Center from time to time. We have seen other teams run it. It's just a little strange to see on Lijiang where both teams are running it. I guess it happens. Both teams felt they could get use out of it. You do have options Overwatch. Just usually teams prefer the more heavy engage type tanks. You know, Winston, Zarya type combos in King of the Hill as opposed to running Reinhardt, but it happens.
So we saw some really long battles on that map, especially in the overtime, which is pretty epic. Any opinions on those?
Well, we did have both teams for a while running with the triple tank, and ultimately when you have a lot of heroes out on the field that can heal, one of the important things when you're actually running these kind of tank compositions is the longevity in the battles and the knowledge that you have a lot of hit points available, you're constantly getting healed up. Getting that first pick off where you're able to run in and play that 6v5 normally involves picking off a Zenyatta or picking off a McCree or picking off a Genji where you have lower hit points, but you're not really able to do that when you come up against a wall of HP. And that's exactly what basically both teams were really playing at there, and it meant that in the initial team fight, it got a little bit messy, and then it spread out gradually over time, and you can see these one-on-one, two-on-one engagements, and that's when the kills finally started dripping.
Right, we've got the Republic of Gamers Play of the Week. Incredible play of the game. Not week. Incredible play of the game. Let's have a look and see what it was.
Maybe it is good enough to be the play of the week. We'll have to see.
Maybe it is.
Could
Maybe
be.
you
We've
could
had a lot
It
of
could be
great
the play of the month, play of the year.
Whoa.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That would be
It is
sick.
I don't know. I don't think we had any 6Ks with like a Diva explosion, so probably not play of the year, but it should be incredible nonetheless.
It's hyped with the setup. I'm wondering if Genji, yeah, it's got to be that Dragon Blade. Just
This ended up
slicing
being
dice.
pretty brutal because ultimately this just cleared the way for what really was a little bit inevitable on Dorado, but very, very nicely played there. And this, I thought Hype was basically glued on everyone here. This was delightful to watch.
Hype definitely had some good plays, and this sort of reminds me of what went on towards the end of Dorado there, where you're not running Lucio on defense. SODIPOP, all they had to do there was be patient, save up their ultimates, and go in from there because there just wasn't the support from the defense to actually deal with it there. So it's like, okay, we're just going to save up for Soundbearer, Dragon Blade, go in, win the game. And that's pretty much what they did.
So we've got SODIPOP versus Cloud9. I'm sure Cloud9 would be watching that previous match. From you onwards, what do you think their chances are versus Cloud9?
I'll say something like 30 to 40%. I think Cloud9 still are in that tier above, and it's going to be quite a battle for SODIPOP to try and unseat them and get that first spot out of this group to Atlanta.
ZP, is there a way for this to happen?
There is a way. C9 needs to be having a bad day, and SODIPOP needs to be playing on their minds. But realistically, I'm going to put it a lot lower at around like 15%. And the problem is with C9 is that C9 has a lot of very solid players on their team. It's easy to focus on their super top players like Surefour, but you look at their supporting cast. Kai, one of the very best tanks in the game, especially with what he's done with Zarya as of late. Their support play is very consistent. And then if you do focus on the top players, you have the Surefour factor, who many people consider to be one of the best, if not the best player in the game, who just finds moments of just absolute magic on the field. And that's always rough to deal with and always a rough person to get through.
Joseph.
I think one thing that these guys can take away from the games today is that Cloud9 will be watching and they'll say the manner of victory looks like a team that has vastly improved their teamwork and communication and their coordination. Going into the team fights, they were very, very well versed, and while in cases it was a little bit of a steamroller, the important thing to note is that everyone was functioning as one unit, and that is one of the biggest step changes that some of these mid-tier teams can make to try and break into the top tier. Are Cloud9 favorites? Absolutely. Are they going to be worried, though? Yes, they will need to prepare adequately, and they do need to make sure they don't have a bad day.
Okay, we have an interview with Hyped coming up, who should be on the telephone. Oh, wow, webcam. Nice.
Excellent.
Mr. Hyped. I think, Joshy, you can take this away.
Sure, yeah. Hyped, what's up, man? Great games. How are you doing?
Thank you.
How you feeling?
How's it going, Joshy?
Great.
Good. Great.
So obviously, a lot of people, we didn't mention this during the cast, but a lot of people don't know that you were actually a competitor in many games before this, Hearthstone being perhaps the most notable. I know that whatever game you get into, you go hard and play tons and tons of games. What do you think about the competitive scene of Overwatch in its growth period versus a game like Hearthstone? How's it building out so far?
Well, it's a little different. I feel like some people have more like FPS and like specifically TF2 experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to learn from those people, for example, and I'm pretty new to FPS myself. So I'm like starting from nothing, just working on my aim and all that. Whereas in Hearthstone, there's like some people said like the Magic players have a tiny bit of an advantage, but really it's a brand new game, so it's anyone's field. But at this point, I think a lot of people that are new to the game are catching up very quickly. For example, a lot of my team members besides Grim Reality are not even beta players, so they just came in and they're already like up to speed. If you just find people, it might be hard for some people to break in, but if you just find players, put together teams, start screaming, you'll be caught up in no time.
Excellent.
All right, so you mentioned catching up quickly, and that's sort of an important segue here, where there was a point where SODIPOP, I mean, you guys have been in it for a while, and they have done roster changes, including adding you and Hype, and a few others along the way, but there was a point where looking at CLG versus SODIPOP, and a lot of people would favor CLG, to now going into this we thought toss-up, where now you guys actually came with a pretty dominant victory. Is there a reason for that in terms of you guys kicking up your practice schedule, or what do you think you guys have done that CLG is not?
We always thought they would be a hard team on paper. They have a lot of good players like B-Dropped, Blam, Spo, and all that. But even the first time we scrimmed them, and almost every time we scrim them, it's just been like very easy for us. So something about the way they play versus the way we play, our style just beats them almost like every time. So we weren't really afraid of them at all. But I do think they're really good players. So.
And now you guys are going to be going up against Cloud9 tomorrow. So obviously that is a big match for you guys. And a lot of people will say Cloud9 are heavy favorites there. But do you guys have something in your back pockets that you're looking to try and sort of bring to the table? What do you feel your chances are, and what do you need to improve to sort of nail that on the head?
We're pretty scared of them. We've played them once in a tournament and just one scrim. But I would say we have probably just like at least a 33% chance of winning. But it's hard to say other than that. We may or may not have secret strategies.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck there. I mean, it's going to be a tough match, and we are looking forward to seeing if any of those secret strategies turn out useful for you guys.
Yeah, I think actually you got a great position here taking out CLG, because if you do lose to Cloud9, God forbid, you actually just fall to another match against Huckleberry, and Huckleberry is one of those teams that we don't really see very often. So how do you feel your chances are against Huckleberry and actually getting out of the group and going to Atlanta in all?
Oh yeah, very, very confident about moving on.
All right.
I don't know much about Huckleberry, but that's a good thing, I think.
I have a question, actually.
Sure.
Is there a fan in your PC colliding with a cable in the background.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep fans going because Overwatch gets my computer hot and all that. So I'm sorry about that.
No, it's perfectly fine. I just wondered because I used to in my old PC. I used to have that as well. Funny story. I actually dropped that PC on my toe and ripped it in half.
Oh.
Anyway, thank you very
PC
much,
in
Hype,
half.
for
What
having an
part of that
interview
is
with us
funny?
today. Well, I don't know. We can discuss that afterwards. Well, thank you very much for having an interview with us today, and good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's going to bring our show to a close. But before we disappear, we're going to have a quick look at the groups A to D to see how things have progressed between A and B and how they will continue with C and D. So recap here, Envious and Splice move on to Atlanta. We will see them for Shrimps and Grits in a few weeks. Let's have a look at bit number B. Part B, we've got Cloud9 versus SODIPOP coming up, and then Huckleberry versus ALGAE in the loser side. And still to come, Group C, Fnatic, Mono, Team Liquid, and Clutch. And then going into Group D, we have Complexity, Gecko Fox, NRG, and Method. So lots more Overwatch coming your way in the next few days. But for today, we will finish off with a goodbye. It's goodbye from Joshi, it's goodbye from ZP, it's goodbye from Jorisar, and it's goodbye from me. See you tomorrow.